From the studios of Chillicothe High School, this is your CAVS News Show.
Hello, I'm Koiko Zed.
And I'm Austin New with your CAVS News Show.
Attention seniors, as you begin to wind down your K-12 education, you should begin reviewing your Google Drive folders. If you have any items that you will want to access in the future after graduation, you need to begin moving those files to another platform. Class of 2015 accounts will be deleted over the summer. Now for some news that's a little more fun, let's go to Logan McCord with Culture Shock.
How's it going, guys? This is Logan McCord with your Culture Shock Report. Still your local insight on movies, music, and popular trends. Everybody good? Good. As the end of the year is upon us, there are going to be a lot of changes on the horizon. A lot of us are going to be going off to college. A lot of us are going to be going abroad. It's going to be very different. And I think the world will be a lot different after next year. Monday morning, Fox finally announced that next year will be the last year for American Idol, saying that the 15-year rating juggernaut has reached its peak. The creators of the show have said that the final season will be a season-long celebration with many surprise guests from the past. I can't wait to watch. Hashtag Team Ruben. Let's go to Joseph Miles to talk about movies. Joseph.
Hi, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Joseph Miles, your Culture Shock cinema expert. Well, summer is finally here, and that means the end of the school year. Since I'm a senior, this will be my last episode on CAVS News, unfortunately. However, there are still several much anticipated movies coming out this year after the school year ends, and I just want to mention the rest of this year's big movies before I leave. First up, Jurassic World. Only a few weeks away, and with the trailer already out, the fourth movie in the Jurassic Park series is the big movie of the summer, but not the only one. We're also only days away from Disney's sci-fi flick Tomorrowland and the anticipated sequel to Mad Max. Just around the corner are the animated comedies Inside Out and Minions, a spin-off of Despicable Me. Releases in August include The Man from U.N.C.L.E., based off the television series, and Straight Outta Compton, a biography about the famed rap group NWA. The remainder of the year will see the movies Crimson Peak, The Walk, Mockingjay Part 2, and of course, from a galaxy far, far away, Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens will release on December 18th. Well, I guess that's all for me. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your viewership, and my friends here at CAVS News for a great year. I'll be seeing you around. Back to you, Logan.
Thanks, Logan. The Freshman Class Council is selling sunglasses. The sunglasses will cost $3 per pair, and they will be sold during each lunch from Wednesday, May 13th until Thursday, May 21st.
National news, a U.S. military helicopter with as many as 8 people on board has gone missing in Nepal. Military officials are searching for the Marines helicopter that went missing Tuesday evening near Charakat, Nepal. Pentagon officials said the aircraft was assisting with disaster relief after the earthquake struck the South Asian nation, killing thousands late last month.
Another earthquake struck Nepal on Tuesday with a magnitude of 7.3. The quake struck about 9.3 miles deep. According to U.S. Geological Survey for compensation's sake, the magnitude 7.8 quake on April 25th, which killed more than 8,000, was centered west of Kathmandu and a little farther away.
In lighter news, the CHS Theater Department opened and closed their spring musical, Guys and Dolls, to near anonymous praise. Let's go to Tori King's story to find out more.
Well, I think Guys and Dolls is still popular because, well, one, it comes from that sort of golden age of musicals where you had the sort of traditional romance stories along with the comedy, you had the slapstick characters and the sort of more subtle characters all mixed together. And I also think it's possible because it's got really well-known famous music. So that sort of contributes. But overall, I think it's just kind of a nice story. The idea that people from different worlds could meet and come together and could change each other for the better. I like Guys and Dolls. It's always been one that I've enjoyed watching over and over because it's got such, I guess, classic qualities. You're watching, good old-fashioned musical theater when you watch it, and it's got some of my favorite songs in it, like Luck Be a Lady, Fugue for Tin Horns, and even Bushel and a Peck, which are all songs that I really enjoy. And I think it's a really kind of a sweet story. Actually, it's an interesting story how we picked the musical this year. We had originally decided on My Fair Lady this year because we knew we wanted to do something from that golden age of classic Broadway. We wanted to make sure that we featured some of our strong women, but we actually weren't granted the rights to perform My Fair Lady this year. So we were suddenly looking for another sort of golden age classic show, and Mala Kennard, who co-directs with me, she said, she suggested Guys and Dolls because she had done it back in the early 2000s and had found it to be a really sort of smooth show to put together and a real crowd pleaser, so that's why we chose it. And it ended up working out for us because we were able to feature more of our strong ladies in more variety of roles than we would have if we had gotten to do My Fair Lady. I think it's gonna really be a crowd pleaser for our audiences because it's got really catchy songs. It has really likable characters. So many of our actors are just really into their characters, and we have a lot of supporting characters that I think are going to steal the scenes that they're in and be really memorable. So there's a lot to laugh at, there's a lot to sort of tap your toe to, and there's a lot of really great dancing in it as well. So I think that's going to go over really well. And overall, I think because it's sort of a classic, well-known show, I think we'll probably have pretty big numbers for it attendance-wise. And there's so many elements that go into it because first you have to consider the material. We had to consider what the content of the show would be, what sort of feel we were going for. Did we want a more classic feel or did we want to do something more contemporary? Once we decided on classic, we had to determine, okay, who do we have in the theater and the music department now who usually auditions for things, and how can we be sure to choose something that's going to feature the population of students that we have in theater. This year we had a lot of girls. We usually have a lot of girls, but this year we had a particular lot of girls. However, unlike other years, we also found that we had quite a few talented men in theater and in choir that we wanted to be sure that we put them out there and sort of get them in, because oftentimes we pick shows that are focused primarily on women. And so the guys sort of feel left out because the guy roles in those shows are kind of an afterthought. And in this show, the guy roles are really important. So we got a lot of guys who wanted to be singing and dancing gangsters this year when we chose Guys and Dolls. And that was really cool because then we were able to start putting it together that way. And then once you cast the show, once you finally start rehearsals, it becomes a process of who's going to be worrying about the set, who's going to be worrying about the costumes, who's going to get the props, who's going to be blocking this song as opposed to choreographing this song. So Mal and I usually hash that out together.
Well, on stage I am a hot box dancer, so I get to dance around on stage as one of Adelaide's showgirls. And it's so fun. Like, I am so glad that I got that part, just because I like to dance and it's just such fun music. I just love to do it. And then off stage, I'm the stage manager, so that just means I get to help change the scenes and make sure the props are all in line and make sure everybody's doing their job. So I'm really glad I got to do that too. I would describe this show as one that's very fun for all ages of the family. You have the jokes that will make the parents laugh, but then you also have like the uplifting songs and music that the kids will enjoy also. So it's just an all-around, just a fun show. I get into character by closing my eyes and counting to 10 and just visualizing myself on stage, and then bam, in character. This year's music and dance, I think singing-wise is probably a little bit easier. Dancing-wise, we've had some pretty tough choreography that is very physically challenging and a lot of little dance steps, but on stage it looks really good. So I think, maybe compared to last year, it's not as hard because it's not tap dancing, but this year, compared maybe to others in the past, it's challenging. But it's a good challenging. It's taught me definitely time management because you have to be able to throw on the costumes pretty fast, but I've built friendships through this musical, and I've gained even musically, I've gained knowledge through this musical because it's a different type of music that we have to sing to. So definitely. It just shows that, you shouldn't put things such as gambling and whatnot before people, and shows that people can change. Maybe not in the way that you expect, but yeah.
I play Sky Masterson. He is the lead character in the show, and I think might be the most complex of all the characters, because on the surface, he is a very confident guy who doesn't seem that he cares about too much, but once you get to know him, he really does have a lot going on at the center of him. It's really a huge challenge, to be honest. He is the most complex of all the characters that I've played so far. You don't really, a lot of his lines have two meanings, so you have to convey that, I like the challenge that this character is giving me. I think that it's just bringing up the energy before you go out on stage. I'll do calisthenics off to the side. I'll do jumping jacks, and I'll jump up and down, and I'll breathe like heavily just so I can get myself in a state of that intense feeling that my character is feeling before he goes out on stage. I just think about the things that I think that my character would be thinking about, and just try to put myself in their shoes. At the beginning of the show, Sky Masterson is this gambler that is super confident, and he talks to his friend Nathan Detroit, and they make this bet that he cannot take this one certain girl to Havana with him, to Cuba for dinner. And so he finds out that the girl runs this religious mission. She is this missionary, and he has to take her to Havana. He finally does, and then he starts to fall in love with her. I think Sky is special because he thinks that he has it all figured out. He has such a swagger of that era to where he can just go out, and I think there was a really good, Mr. Smith put it, that he is almost like a shark, that he has this very cool demeanor, but he could kill you at any time, and you know it. Well, I think that everything in a musical is amazing, from putting it together to actually performing it and then getting the reviews of it afterwards. But I think that the best part of it is the rehearsal time and the time that you have getting to know the people that you're working with. I think that the relationships that you make in a musical or a play are completely unique compared to anything else. My favorite part of this musical is my character has a song called Luck Be a Lady, which is a song that Frank Sinatra made famous, and because he was in this show. And it's just this number where this guy is about to bet everything that he has just so he can fulfill the promise that he has for this girl that he's fallen in love with.
I play Sarah Brown, and she's the head of the Salvation Army mission. And Sarah is extremely conservative, but she's very caring. Her main goal is to help people, but she's never really ventured out and explored. She's never traveled. She's just kind of lived in a box her whole life. And when she falls head over heels for Sky Masterson, who's a gambler, and she's completely against gambling, she's beside herself because her heart is telling her one thing, but her mind and her morals that she's had her whole life are telling her another. So she gets very confused, actually, in the show, and it takes her until the end of the show to kind of decide what she really wants. I think it's so popular because the main message of the show is love conquers all. So even though Sarah and Sky, they come completely separate worlds, none of that matters in the end. And the fact that they care so much for each other just kind of overrides all of the conflicts that they face. Music for this show is very fun. It's incredibly upbeat. It's very jazzy because it fits the time period. But I think that this year the choreography was some of the hardest that we've had to do. We have this this number where it's all Spanish music, so it's the tango and the salsa, and so that was really difficult. And a lot of our group numbers with all of the girls in the cast, the costume requirements are very demanding for them to dance in, and just memorizing all the choreography was really challenging this year. And I think it is because of the difficulty of the music itself with the different styles that it incorporates. So I would say compared to past years, this was one of our harder musicals. Before I audition for a role, I like to read about, obviously, the summary of the show, and I like to read about how my character is involved in the show. I always like to read, what their personality is, how they react to certain situations. But for this show, I've never seen the movie. I didn't watch the movie because I didn't want to copy what Jean Simmons did and her interpretation of Sarah. I wanted to have my own interpretation. My own character kind of taught me something is, don't judge a book by its cover, because she falls in love with the gambler, and at first he seems very arrogant and cocky and full of himself, but under the surface, there was a lot more to Sky that Sarah got to see, and that's why she fell for him so hard. So I would say that the musical and Sarah taught me would just be not everyone is as they seem.
Am I right? Am I wise? Am I smart? But I'll stop and I'll stare at that face in the room. Yes, I will. When my love comes along. When my love comes along.
That's all for this week. I'm Austin DeMint.
And I'm Koiko Azad. Have a nice, safe week, Chillicothe.